Things happen in life that we simply can't explain, and sometimes it's hard to recover. Today, on Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman, I'll be reading Ireti's story. Take a listen. My name is Ireti, and I am exactly as my name is. Sometimes I wonder if my parents named me prophetically because they foresaw the kind of child I would be, or if I became that way because they named me. I won't leave you wondering for too long. I am one of the most optimistic people I know. I have been this way since I was a child. I hate to see people sad, and I always believe that things will work out somehow. My nickname in my family when I was growing up was Little Miss Sunshine. In my secondary school days, I had my own friends, but I was also everybody's friend because if I saw anyone looking sad or down, I would walk up to them and I would not leave till they were cheerful again. I can't count how many people I brought to my mother for help, with speaking to their parents, with food or money when they were hungry or in need, etc. It was just my way. My parents were on the quiet side, although they were generous and very welcoming. I was the second of 3 girls. My older sister was very reserved, while my younger sister was my mini-me. She wanted to do everything I did, and I just loved her. My dad was a full-time pastor, and my mom was a teacher who eventually became a principal in a big school in Akure where we grew up. Life for me was pretty normal and straightforward. Everything worked out at the right time, and I did not have any delays in any way. When I got to the university, I joined a fellowship, and in my second year, I was made the welfare secretary because I knew every member of the fellowship and what was going on with them. It was during this time that I became close to Folahon, who was also a part of the fellowship executive. He was in his final year at the time. Somehow, we became very close, and just before he graduated from school, we officially started a relationship. Folahon was a sweetheart, a wonderful human being, the kind of person you would describe as being beautiful inside and out. He never ever saw evil in anyone. He had a pure heart and he was unoffendable, if there is a word like that. No matter what anyone did to him, Folahon never got upset. I used to think my father was the most gentle person I knew, but Folahon was on another level. He was the only child of his mother, and his father had left them when he was 3 to remarry someone else with whom he had 4 other children. And yet, Folahon was not bitter or angry. That was just the kind of person he was. Our relationship continued to blossom even after he left school, and we were looking forward to getting married after I finished, and we both got jobs. And things were going exactly as we planned them. He was working in a marketing communication company, and I eventually got a job as an administrative officer in a private company when we started to plan our wedding. When I met his mom, I understood where Folahon got his kind heart from. She was a lovely woman, and you would never have guessed she had been through the kind of bitter experience she endured. She took me as her daughter immediately. My parents loved her and were so happy about where I was marrying into. The love was evident. It was about 10 days to our wedding when Folahon's mom called me to ask if I had heard from him. It was early in the morning and I was preparing to go to work. According to her, he did not return home the night before. I spoke to him while he was in the bus on his way home, and he told me he would be getting off soon. That was when we dropped the call. I sent him a message just before going to bed, and when he didn't respond, I assumed he had slept off. His mom's call came in just before 6 a.m. Of course, I became worried because his number was switched off. I called my office to take the day off, and so began the search for Folahan. We reported at the police station, but 2 days later, there was still no trace of him. I could not sleep or eat. On the third day, I had to be placed on sedatives, and my parents took over my phone and would not let me get involved in the search. I kept telling myself that he would be found. As I prayed and I cried, I simply refused to acknowledge that anything would happen to my darling Folahan. In 2 days to the wedding, he had still not been found. It was then I started to go hysterical. For the first time in my life, I was inconsolable. I told everyone that they were not doing enough and that they needed to let me go out and look for him. But of course, no one allowed me to do that. The wedding day came and went, and there was no trace of him. Days became months and years, but Folahan was never found, and a large void was left in my heart. I kept believing that he would show up. 3 years later, his mother came to our house to visit me, and she pleaded with me to move on with my life. I was 28 at the time. Left to me, it was a dishonor to the man I loved, but she insisted that if I had any respect for her at all, I would listen to her plea and do her this honor. If I felt I had lost something, according to her, what did I want her to feel? She said her greatest joy, if Folahan was never found, would be to see her daughter, me, have children who would be her grandchildren. We both cried as she pleaded passionately with me. I reluctantly agreed. I had changed a lot since Folahan left. A part of me died with his loss. I was still a hopeful person, but my bubbly personality had given way to a quiet, subdued person. I knew it would be hard for me to give myself fully to anyone, but because of Folahan's mom, I would try. I eventually met someone. He was kind and patient, but nothing close to Folahan. I told him about what had happened and that he would need to understand my attachment to Folahan's mom. And he did. I have been married to Kunle for 7 years now, and it's been good. The one thing I appreciate is that I can be open with him about my thoughts of Folahan. He accompanies me with the children to visit Folahan's mom at least once a quarter, and she takes him as a son too. Of course, I try not to make it a constant point, but until we know what happened to Folahan, he will always be a part of my consciousness. What are your thoughts about Ireti's experience? Any words for her? Please share in the comments below. Do take a moment to like this video, to comment, and to share with somebody else. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can also join the Valiant Women's Network, which is a vibrant community of women where we share our thoughts, learn from one another's experiences, ask questions, get coached, and engage in many other interesting activities. The link is in the description below. Till I come your way again, ciao.